The Rusty Spoon Cafe sat tucked in a narrow alleyway, squeezed breathlessly between the looming towers of the financial district. Its faded wooden sign creaked in the wind, as if whispering stories of days the city had long forgotten. Pale yellow lights cast a soft glow over chipped wooden tables, and the aroma of roasted coffee mixed with the acrid smell of burnt bread wafted from the back kitchen. This was no place for someone like Alex Kingston, the 35-year-old CEO of Kingston Enterprises, accustomed to marble boardrooms and espresso brewed in Italian-imported machines. Alex walked in, his tailored Armani suit hugging his tall frame, eyes as sharp and cold as blades. The Rolex on his wrist sparkled as he checked the time, muttering about a postponed meeting. The cafe was more crowded than usual today, with a few regulars scattered about. An elderly woman knitting in the corner, a middle-aged man reading the newspaper, and two college students debating an assignment. Behind the counter, Eva Carter, 26, with her brown hair tied up high and bright, resolute eyes, was busy serving customers. She had just handed a latte to the man with the newspaper, smiling politely, before turning back to the aging espresso machine sputtering like a wounded beast. "One espresso. Make it quick," Alex said, his voice deep and commanding, not even sparing Eva a glance. He stood right in the middle of the walkway, as if the entire cafe ought to freeze for his presence. His phone buzzed in his hand as he scrolled through emails, his expression suggesting the whole world should bend to his schedule. Eva glanced at him, then turned to the next customer, a young college girl asking about herbal teas. "I'll have it ready for you in a moment," she said, her voice gentle yet firm. Suddenly, the machine hissed louder. A sharp psst, followed by a splash. Coffee spilled out, staining her worn apron. Eva frowned and quickly adjusted the machine, which still refused to cooperate. She muttered, "Acting up again." Alex tapped his fingers on the counter, his tone laced with irritation. "Don't you see I'm waiting? Or do you think I've got all day to stand here?" He raised an eyebrow at her, eyes full of disdain, as if she were an underperforming employee. "If you can't handle this job, then honestly the world wouldn't lose a thing if you disappeared." His words cut like a knife. Eva froze, her hand tightening around a rag. She looked up, meeting his eyes, defiance flashing, masking the flicker of pain underneath. Today was her mother's death anniversary, and the memory of her who once taught Eva to play piano under the moonlight, who once said, "You're my melody, Eva. Don't let anyone stop your music," throbbed like a fresh wound. But Eva didn't flinch. She slid the espresso across the counter, her voice cold but razor-sharp. "Here's your coffee, Mr. Kingston. If you think you're indispensable, wake up. The world keeps turning just fine without anyone." Alex stiffened. He hadn't expected a waitress to snap back. His lip curled, ready to reply, but Eva's eyes, bright, piercing, and filled with challenge, halted him. She turned away, tending to the college student as if he were nothing more than background noise. The man reading the newspaper glanced up and shook his head in disapproval. The old woman knitting in the corner, Mary, paused her work, murmuring to Eva as she walked by, "Don't let that man get to you, Eva. You're worth more than he thinks. I heard you playing the piano the other day, like an angel." Eva gave a faint smile, but her chest tightened. An angel. Maybe once, 10 years ago, when she was 16, standing on the stage of Carnegie Hall, her fingers dancing across the keys like telling a story. But then her mother, Anna, had died one rainy night. Her brakes suddenly failed. The police called it an accident, but Eva never believed that. Her mother, a steadfast pianist, had turned down invitations from the elite. "They want to buy your soul, Eva," she used to say. "Don't let them." The cafe door chimed as Alex walked out, leaving no tip. His half-drunk espresso sat on the counter, steam curling upward like silent mockery. Eva picked up the cup, wiped it clean, and muttered under her breath, "Indispensable? God will show you, Mr. Kingston." Outside, Alex stepped into the waiting Bentley, his mind already shifting to the shareholder meeting. But Eva's words, "If you think you're indispensable," wake up echoed in his head like a refrain he couldn't shake. He shook it off, convincing himself she was just another forgettable waitress. The world was full of women like her, wasn't it? What he didn't know was that just a few blocks away, in a tiny rented room, that same girl was playing music capable of melting even the coldest heart. Back in the cafe, Mary, still knitting in her corner, muttered softly, "That man will wake up soon enough." No one mocks Eva Carter without paying the price. She smiled, her eyes carrying a secret she already knew, and continued knitting, the red thread twisting like fate, weaving a story yet to unfold. You're watching Soul Stories, where every tale whispers of love, healing, and hope. If you believe that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life, and that love often arrives when we least expect it, don't forget to subscribe and be part of our journey. Now stay with us. The story is just beginning. Eva Carter's apartment was on the third floor of a crumbling old building where the wooden stairs creaked with every step and the musty smell clung to every stained wall. Moonlight streamed through a cracked window pane, casting its glow on the old piano, the only possession she had left from better days. The keys had yellowed, some slightly out of tune, but to Eva it was everything her sanctuary, a place where Alex Kingston's insults from earlier could not reach her. She sat down on the bench, her hands trembling slightly as they hovered over the keys. Dressed in a thin sweater, hair loose around her shoulders, her bright eyes now carried a quiet sorrow. Today marked the anniversary of her mother's death, and the memory of Anna Carter clung to her like an unfinished melody, beautiful and painful all at once. She took a deep breath, let her fingers fall, and Debussy's Clair de Lune began to echo through the room. Each note fell like a tear in the dark, soft, melancholic, yet alive, as if she were telling her story, and her mother's. 10 years ago, Eva had been a piano prodigy, standing on the stage of Carnegie Hall at 16, the spotlight glowing like a halo. Her mother, Anna, sat front row, smiling with wordless pride. Anna was a pianist not famous, but deeply passionate, who taught Eva that music wasn't just about notes, but about touching the soul. "You are my melody, Eva," she used to say. But the world stopped listening on a rainy night when Eva was 18. Anna was killed in a car crash when her brakes mysteriously failed. The police called it a mechanical error, but Eva never believed it. Her mother had always been meticulous and had refused offers from elite music circles, those Anna had once called soul hunters. After her death, Eva inherited a mountain of medical and legal debt, forcing her to give up her Juilliard scholarship and take a job waitressing at the Rusty Spoon. Music, the light of her life, was now just scattered notes played in the dark. The piano fell silent when Eva heard a faint sound. She opened the old drawer beside the piano where she kept her mother's keepsakes. A letter fell out, Anna's handwriting still clear as if written yesterday. Eva picked it up, her chest tightening as she read the final lines. "Keep playing, Eva, even when the world won't listen. There will be those who try to snuff out your light. Don't let them win." The last words were shaky, as if Anna had written them in fear. Eva remembered the night her mother left, the worry in her eyes as she kissed Eva's forehead. "I'm going to perform tonight, sweetheart. Practice Clair de Lune." It was the last time she ever saw her. As she folded the letter, a business card slipped out. Eva picked it up and read the embossed print, "Leonard Drake, Arts Benefactor." On the back was a handwritten message, "Meet me or face the consequences." Her heart pounded. Leonard Drake. The name wasn't unfamiliar. She remembered her mother mentioning him with disdain, a powerful figure in the music world who had tried to coerce Anna into commercial performances. Eva clenched the card, unease rising in her chest. Had her mother's death really been an accident? A knock at the door startled her. She quickly stashed the card back into the drawer and got up. Outside stood Mary, the elderly woman from the cafe, holding a tin of homemade cookies. "I heard your piano all the way from the street," she said, eyes soft. "It reminded me of your mother, Anna. She used to play at the community center, you know. Every note told a story." Eva smiled faintly, though the ache lingered. "Thank you, Mary, but I'm not sure I deserve the piano anymore." Mary shook her head and set the cookie tin on the table. "You're dimming your own light, Eva. Don't let men like that one today, the guy in the fancy suit, make you doubt who you are." Eva thought of Alex Kingston, of the way he'd said, "The world wouldn't lose a thing if you disappeared." She clenched her fists, pride rising in her chest. "He thinks he's the center of the universe," she said, voice firm, "but I'm not going to let people like him stop me from playing." Mary smiled, her gaze knowing. "Good, and I'd bet he's going to learn that lesson soon." When Mary left, Eva returned to the piano. She resumed Clair de Lune, But this time the notes held a trace of anger and hope. She thought of her mother's letter, the business card from Leonard Drake. Something about her mother's death didn't feel right, and she would find the truth. But for now, in this worn-down room under the moon's faint light, music was the only place she felt free. Across town in a gleaming office lit by neon, Alex Kingston sat at his desk, the city skyline stretching behind him. He was still thinking about what Eva had said. If you think you're indispensable, wake up. The words echoed like a strange melody, tugging at him. He shook his head, reminding himself she was just a lowly waitress. But deep down, something had shifted. A crack had appeared in the wall of arrogance he'd spent years building. The rundown neighborhood on the city's outskirts was a world far removed from anything Alex Kingston knew. Narrow alleys, thick with the smell of grease and garbage, led him to a gray, crumbling building where each creaky wooden step echoed beneath his polished shoes. He wore a simple coat, trying not to attract attention, but the sharpness in his gaze and the confidence in his stride still marked him as someone used to standing at the top. Alex had come to find his younger brother Jake, who had vanished after a heated argument over rehab. But as he stopped in front of Jake's apartment, a melody drifted through the building, a piano piece that made him pause. The music was soft yet haunting, like a story told in notes. Chopin's Nocturne Opus 9 No. 2 filled the air, its rising and falling phrases like waves against the heart. Alex froze, forgetting why he'd come. He had never heard piano music that made him feel so small. It wasn't just beautiful, it was as if the melody was speaking directly to him, stirring something he couldn't name. Drawn by the sound, he followed it down the hallway and stopped at a worn wooden door, where moonlight leaked through a crack, illuminating a nameplate. Eva Carter. Eva? The waitress from the Rusty Spoon? Alex frowned, not trusting his ears. He pushed the door slightly open just enough to see her sitting at an old piano, fingers gliding over the keys, as if she were painting something invisible. Her brown hair cascaded down her shoulders, eyes half closed, lost in the music as if it were the only place she truly belonged. His heart beat faster. This girl, the one he had mocked as insignificant, was playing music that could silence the world. As the melody came to an end, Eva opened her eyes and spotted Alex's silhouette through the crack in the door. She stood abruptly, her face shifting from serenity to cold steel. "Mr. Kingston," she said, voice sharp as a blade, "what are you doing here? Come to throw more insults?" She stepped forward and slammed the door, but Alex caught it just in time, his expression now stripped of arrogance, replaced by uncertainty. I just wanted to apologize," he said, his voice unsteady, a rare thing for a man like him. "I heard the piano. I didn't know it was you, playing like that." Eva folded her arms, her eyes wary. "I don't need your pity, Mr. Kingston. I don't serve men who think they're gods." She emphasized gods, echoing his words from the cafe. That sentence had lingered in his mind like a wound refusing to close. "It's not pity," Alex replied more sincerely than he expected. "I was wrong to say those things. I never imagined someone like you had that kind of talent." She scoffed, her laugh bitter and hollow. "Talent?" she echoed, eyes hard. "Talent didn't save my mother. It didn't pay my debts. It didn't make the world any less cruel. I don't need your apology." Alex stood speechless. He wanted to ask about her mother, about the debts, but Eva's gaze was a wall he couldn't breach. Before he could respond, a voice called out from the end of the hall. "Alex, what the hell are you doing here?" Jake appeared, disheveled and hollow-eyed. He looked at Eva, then turned to Alex, his tone light but edged. "Don't tell me you came here to harass the piano genius. I heard her play at a charity gig last year. She's a forgotten legend." Eva frowned, clearly uncomfortable with the praise. She turned and shut the door, leaving the brothers in the hallway. "Genius," Alex repeated, genuinely curious. Jake shrugged and tugged his arm. "She used to play the big stages, man. Then something happened, I don't know the details. Maybe you'd find out, if you stopped being so damn arrogant." On the way back, sitting in the back of his Bentley, Alex couldn't shake the sound of Eva's piano from his mind. He pulled out his phone and searched her name online. All he found were a few old articles about a piano prodigy who performed at Carnegie Hall at 16, then suddenly vanished from the spotlight. What had happened to her? Why would someone so gifted end up waiting tables in a crumbling cafe? And why did her words make him feel like he was standing in front of a mirror, staring at the cracks in his own reflection? Meanwhile, back in her apartment, Eva sat by the piano, fingers brushing over her mother's letter. The business card from Leonard Drake still lay tucked in the drawer, a quiet reminder of secrets still unresolved. She thought of Mary's words, "Don't let men like him make you sad." But Alex Kingston hadn't just made her sad. He had made her angry because he reminded her of the very people who tried to snuff out her mother's light. She closed the piano lid, but inside her, a new melody began to form, fueled by rage and hope. Alex Kingston's office on the 50th floor of Kingston Enterprises was a fortress of power, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the dazzling neon lights of the city. The walls were lined with awards and photographs of him shaking hands with politicians. But tonight, the space felt colder than ever. Alex sat in front of his computer screen, its blue glow casting deep shadows on his tense features. He typed Eva Carter into the search bar, his mind still haunted by the sound of that nocturne he'd heard in her shabby apartment the night before. Search results loaded. A few old articles from 10 years ago describing Eva as a piano prodigy who had performed at Carnegie Hall at 16 and was awarded a full scholarship to Juilliard. But after that, nothing. She had vanished from the spotlight, as if the music world had erased her entirely. Alex frowned and dialed a private investigator he trusted, his voice firm and low. "Find out everything about Eva Carter. I want to know why she gave it all up." He didn't know why he was so drawn to this woman. Maybe it was her words. "If you think you're indispensable, wake up," that still echoed in his mind like a relentless refrain. Or maybe it was the defiance in her eyes, as if she had seen right through the emptiness inside him. Whatever the reason, Alex felt a crack in the wall of pride he had built around himself for years. His phone buzzed, breaking his thoughts. A message from Victor Crane, his old rival in the finance world. "Kingston, the game's just begun." Attached was a link to a breaking news article. Kingston Enterprises accused of embezzling charity funds. Alex's blood rushed to his head. He skimmed the article, twisted figures, fabricated accusations of him siphoning money from the foundation into personal accounts. All lies. But Victor, with his connections and media team, had turned it into a storm. Slamming his fist onto the desk, Alex stood and stepped out onto the balcony. The city stretched before him, but for the first time, it didn't feel like it belonged to him. He thought of Jake, his younger brother, who had called Eva a forgotten legend. If she had once been a star, how did she end up serving coffee? And why did he, who once believed he was untouchable, feel so small in the presence of her music? Meanwhile, Eva walked alone through the rain-soaked streets, neon reflections shimmering on the wet pavement. She had just finished her shift at the Rusty Spoon, the old umbrella in her hand clicking faintly under the drizzle. Her mother's letter and Leonard Drake's business card still lingered in her thoughts. She tried to shake the image of Alex Kingston from last night standing at her door, no longer arrogant, but confused. Still, she didn't trust his apology. Men like him, men who thought they were the center of the universe, always had their own agenda. A shout made her jump. Beneath a street lamp, she saw a crowd of reporters swarming a man, cameras flashing. "Mr. Kingston, care to comment on the scandal?" It was Alex. His coat was drenched, his face tense but composed. He tried to push through, but the reporters wouldn't back down. Eva was about to keep walking. He deserves this, she thought, but something in her paused. She stepped forward, raised her umbrella over Alex's head, and said coolly, "Come with me." Alex stared at her, stunned. The reporters kept shouting, but Eva led him into a narrow alley, away from the camera's glare. She handed him the umbrella and said flatly, "Handle it yourself. I don't want to be associated with people like you." "Wait," Alex called after her, his voice hoarse from the rain and pressure. "Why did you help me, after what I said?" Eva turned, her eyes sharp. "Because I'm not like you. I don't leave people standing in the rain whether they deserve it or not." She walked away, leaving him standing there with the umbrella in hand, her soft scent still lingering on the grip. That night back in her apartment, Eva opened the drawer and stared at Leonard Drake's business card. She clenched it tightly, unease growing in her chest. Could Leonard Drake have something to do with her mother's death? And why was Alex Kingston suddenly orbiting her life like a melody she hadn't invited? Meanwhile, in his office, Alex read the private investigator's report. Eva Carter, once hailed as a prodigy of the century, had dropped out of Juilliard after the death of her mother, Anna Carter, in a car accident. The report noted, cause of death, brake failure, no signs of foul play. But something about it didn't sit right with Alex. He thought of Eva's words, talent didn't help me keep my mother. And he wondered, was he stepping into a secret far bigger than the scandal threatening his empire? Rain poured over the city like an angry symphony, drowning neon lights in sheets of white. Alex Kingston stood hunched in a dark alley, his soaked coat clinging to him, no longer resembling the man who once ruled from the top. In just a matter of days, his empire, Kingston Enterprises, had crumbled. Shareholders turned their backs, the board sent a cold termination email, and the media branded him a thief of public trust. Victor Crane, his longtime rival, had unleashed a damning article exaggerated, even fabricated, accusing Alex of transferring funds from a charity foundation into his own account. But deep down, Alex knew this downfall wasn't just Victor's doing. His own arrogance, the belief that he was irreplaceable, had paved the road to disaster. Months ago, his brother Jake had warned him, "You can't keep ignoring people, Alex. There are problems in the foundation, and Victor's waiting for a chance." A former accountant had even sent an email flagging suspicious transactions. But Alex had dismissed it, laughing. "I run this company. No one knows it better than I do." He had seen himself as number one, the center of the universe, and now that universe was collapsing. Victor had exploited his carelessness, spinning minor lapses into a scandal too big to control. Friends had disappeared, calls went unanswered, and his inbox filled only with mockery. He walked through the rain, no Bentley, no assistant. A message popped up from Jake. "You probably deserve this, but if you want to fix it, start by fixing your ego." Alex gripped the phone tightly, thinking of Eva Carter, the proud-eyed waitress who had once told him, "If you think you're indispensable, wake up." That line now cut deeper than ever, slicing through the fragments of his already cracked pride. He stopped in front of an old corner store, its yellow light spilling through the rain-streaked glass. His clothes were drenched and cold to the bone, but he didn't care. He remembered the moment Eva held an umbrella over his head the night before, her voice cold, but her actions full of grace. Why had she helped him after the way he'd insulted her? He muttered, "I used to think I was everything, and now I'm nothing." A figure appeared beneath the street lamp, the click of an old umbrella echoing through the rain. Eva Carter, just off her shift at the Rusty Spoon, walked by, her thin coat already half soaked. She spotted Alex, pale, hollow-eyed. She started to pass him, then paused. She raised her umbrella over him and said coolly, "Can't you see it's raining?" Alex looked at her, stunned. Why would you do that?" he asked, voice hoarse from cold and strain. Eva shrugged, her gaze sharp but not unkind. "Because I'm not like you." She led him under the store's awning, where the rain couldn't reach. "Sit, I'll get hot tea." She went inside, and for the first time Alex felt his heart stir, not from power, not from ambition, but from the compassion of a woman he once looked down on. Eva returned, handing him a steaming paper cup. "Drink it before you pass out from the cold," she said, her tone still distant. He took the cup. The warmth seeped into his hands. He looked at her, voice trembling. "I've never felt this small. I was set up, but I let it happen. I ignored every warning, thought I was invincible, and now everything's gone." Eva sat beside him, leaving a respectful distance. She stared out at the rain and spoke quietly. "You're not the center of the universe, Mr. Kingston. My mother used to say, the world keeps turning whether you fall or not. She died in a car crash, or so they said. But I never believed it. I lost everything too, just like you now." Alex turned toward her, curious. "Your mother? What happened?" Eva clenched her fists, thinking of Leonard Drake's business card. She shook her head, unwilling to open up to the man who had once humiliated her. "Not your concern," she said, rising to her feet. "Take care of yourself." I have to go. Ms. Carter, Alex called after her, his voice urgent. I was wrong back at the cafe. I didn't deserve your kindness. But thank you for showing me I'm not everything. Eva paused, then looked at him. For the first time, she saw a real human being in his eyes, not a smug CEO, but a man quietly breaking apart. She gave a small nod, then turned and walked away, leaving him in the darkness. That night in her apartment, Eva wondered why Alex Kingston, the man who once believed he was irreplaceable, now stirred a strange flicker of sympathy inside her. Meanwhile, in a cheap hotel room, Alex lay staring at a stained ceiling. An email from the private investigator lit up his phone. Anna Carter, mother of Eva Carter, died in a car accident in 2015. Cause brake failure. Rumors suggest she declined cooperation with Leonard Drake, a powerful arts benefactor. Alex frowned, sensing a puzzle piece falling into place. He thought of Eva, the cup of tea, the pride and hurt in her eyes. He wanted to do the right thing not for his own redemption, but for her. Still following the story. If this story found you outside of Soul Stories, we invite you home, to where every touching tale begins with truth, hope, and heart. The community center sat at the edge of the city, a crumbling building with peeling paint and windows blurred with dust. Children's laughter echoed inside, blending with the clumsy notes of an out-of-tune piano, forming a chaotic but vibrant symphony. Eva Carter stood among a group of orphans, her hands gently guiding them across the piano keys. She wore a simple white blouse, her hair tied high, the sunlight from the window catching her face and lighting up a rare smile, one that only appeared when she was with the children. She was teaching Lily, an 8-year-old girl with messy curls and wide, curious eyes, how to play simple chords. Gentle, Lily, Eva said softly. Let your fingers tell the story. Lily pressed a key a little too hard, producing a jarring sound that made the whole class giggle. Eva laughed along, though her eyes flickered with something more somber. She remembered her mother, Anna, teaching her the same way in a room just like this where music was the only light in dark days. The business card from Leonard Drake, with the words "Meet me or face the consequences," still sat in her drawer, an unanswered question haunting her. Outside in the yard, Alex Kingston stood quietly, holding a borrowed toolbox from the security guard. He wore a t-shirt and jeans, a surprising departure from his usual designer suits. After the financial scandal orchestrated by Victor Crane, Alex had learned a hard lesson about pride. That pride had brought him to the edge, and now he was determined to make things right. He had come to the center after Jake mentioned Eva taught music there. Ever since she had offered him a cup of hot tea in the rain, he'd felt the need to do something meaningful, not to redeem himself, but to prove he could be more than just an arrogant CEO. He arrived as a true volunteer. When he found out the piano at the center was broken, he quietly contacted a piano repairman, but decided to try fixing it himself first using an online tutorial. He crouched beside the old piano, tightening a screw, the children's laughter drifting from inside, making him smile, a feeling so different from the fleeting victories of high-stakes deals. Eva stepped outside to get water and froze. "Mr. Kingston?" she asked, voice wary. "What are you doing here? Come to verify whether I'm really a genius, like your brother said?" She crossed her arms, her eyes sharp, still not forgetting the insult he once hurled at the rusty spoon. Alex stood, wiped his hands on his jeans, and said awkwardly, "I came to help. I heard the piano was broken. I wanted to fix it for the kids." Eva frowned, glancing at the toolbox and the piano. "Help?" she repeated, a hint of sarcasm in her voice. "Or do you think a few screws can erase what you said?" "It's not like that," Alex replied, his gaze steady and sincere. "I used to think I had control over everything, that I was number one. But I was wrong, Miss Carter. I just want to do something right, even if it's just fixing a piano." Eva looked at him, her expression softening slightly, though she kept her distance. She stepped forward to check the stuck key, and her hand accidentally brushed against his. A warm current passed between them. Eva quickly pulled her hand back, cheeks slightly flushed. "Careful," she said, voice a bit unsteady. "That key's been broken for a while." Alex smiled, hiding his own unease. "I'll fix it. I used to think I could fix the whole world. Now just fixing a piano feels enough." Just then, Lily ran outside, tugging on Eva's arm. Miss Eva, who is he? Can he play piano too? Eva looked at Alex, her gaze challenging. Mr. Kingston, do you? He shook his head with a small laugh. Number, but I know how to listen, and you're amazing with them. Lily pulled Eva back inside, but before going in, Eva turned and said quietly, if you really want to help, do it for the kids, not to earn points with me. Alex nodded, feeling a flicker of hope. He went back to work, and when a key finally struck the right tone, a quiet joy filled his chest so different from the thrill of million-dollar contracts. That evening, Eva sat at the piano in her apartment, thinking of Alex. She didn't want to admit it, but what he did today made her see him a little differently. And why was it that Alex Kingston, the man who once made her furious, now stirred something oddly compassionate? In the days that followed, Alex Kingston became a familiar figure at the community center, not the man in tailored Armani suits, but a volunteer in dusty t-shirts, with calloused hands and dirt under his nails. Morning sunlight streamed through the cloudy windows, casting golden beams across the worn wooden floor, where Alex knelt, hammer and nails in hand, repairing a wobbly table the children used for painting. The rhythmic tapping of his hammer blended with the laughter of the kids inside, forming a strange, simple, yet vibrant melody. He didn't stop at fixing the piano. Quietly, he checked for leaky faucets in the kitchen, replaced burned-out bulbs in the hallway, and even helped Lily and a few other kids repaint a peeling wall, leaving behind bright but messy green strokes. "Careful, Uncle Alex," Lily squealed, laughing as he accidentally got paint in his hair. He chuckled, a real full laugh he hadn't heard from himself in years, far from the fake smiles of boardrooms. "You're a better painter than I am," he said, handing her a new brush. Every act came from a quiet, determined place inside him, a desire to become someone different. Not to impress Eva, not to redeem the past, but to prove he could choose to live differently, even through the smallest things. He remembered what Eva had said, "Do it for the kids, not to make it up to me." That line became his lantern, guiding him through the ruins of his former life. From the classroom doorway, Eva watched Alex tying a little boy's shoelaces before sending him off to music class. Her arms crossed, eyes cautious, but she couldn't deny the sincerity in everything he did. She remembered her mother's words. A person truly changed is one who does the right thing, even when no one is watching. Alex didn't know she was standing there, but the way he gently wiped paint off Lily's hands, or carefully hammered so the desk wouldn't tip something about it, stirred her. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't only fixing the center. Maybe he was fixing himself too. The Grand Harmony Concert Hall towered in the heart of the city, its white marble columns and intricately carved ceilings resembling a temple devoted to music. A golden spotlight bathed the glossy black Steinway piano at center stage, where Eva Carter stood, her fingers trembling slightly as they hovered over the keys. She had been invited here to audition for Clara Voss, a renowned music producer known for turning unknowns into stars. But Eva didn't feel excitement. In her simple blue dress, with her brown hair down and her eyes cautious, she looked like someone who knew that behind Clara's perfect smile was a different agenda. Clara, dressed in an elegant red suit, sat in the front row, her gaze sharp like a hunter's. "Play, Miss Carter," she said, her voice silky but commanding. "Show me the prodigy they used to talk about." Eva took a deep breath. Her fingers touched the keys, and Rhapsody in Blue by Gershwin poured into the air, bold, sweeping, like crashing waves. Every note was a fragment of memory. The years she lost her mother, gave up Juilliard, and found herself again through teaching music to orphan children. When the piece ended, Clara clapped slowly, though her eyes were cold. "You still have talent," she said. "I can put you on the stage at Carnegie Hall, even Europe. But there's one condition." Eva's brow furrowed, her heartbeat quickened with a sense of foreboding. "What condition?" Clara rose, her heels clicking on the wooden stage. "You must cut all ties with Alex Kingston," she said, her voice low and sharp as a blade. "His name is stained. A star can't be linked to a man like him." Eva's hands clenched, a flicker of anger in her eyes. She thought of Alex, the man who once humiliated her at the Rusty Spoon, but also the one who offered her hot tea in the rain, clumsily fixed the piano for the kids, and quietly painted the community center walls with a genuine smile. He wasn't innocent, his arrogance had blinded him and led to his downfall. But Eva had seen him change. From a self-absorbed man who believed he was the center of the universe to someone who did small, humble things for others. It was that change, that effort, that made her believe people could make amends. And that was why she couldn't turn her back on him. "And if I say no?" Eva asked, her voice steel. Clara smiled, but it never reached her eyes. "You're just like your mother, Anna, idealistic and stubborn. She rejected my offer too. She turned down Leonard Drake. You know what that cost her?" Eva froze. Her heart pounded. "You knew my mother?" she asked, voice trembling. Clara shrugged, gaze slipping away. "I knew enough to tell you not to repeat her mistake. So choose, Miss Carter, the spotlight or someone like Kingston." Eva stood silently. The stage lights cast her in a glowing halo, but her mind filled with images of Alex. His smile as he wiped paint off Lily's hands, his sincere eyes as he gave her a box of music theory books, and the raw honesty in his voice under the rain-soaked awning. Her mother, Anna, once said, "Music is meant to heal, not to be sold." But more than that, Eva now realized life wasn't just about music. It was about people who had the courage to rise from failure, like Alex had. He wasn't perfect, but he was the reason she believed that kindness and effort could still win over darkness. She looked at Clara, her voice steady as iron. "I once gave up music when I lost my mother," she said. "I won't give up what I believe in, just to chase lights. Alex is the reason I stayed because he showed me that people can change, and I want to stand beside someone like that." Her words rang through the concert hall like a final note, strong, clear, and unforgettable. Clara shook her head, voice cold. "You'll regret this." She turned and walked away, leaving Eva alone on stage. But Eva's heart felt lighter, as if she had just set down a weight she'd carried too long. She had won not fame, but the right to follow her heart. From the shadows of the concert hall, Alex stood still, having heard everything. He had wandered in after hearing the piano and saw Eva on stage. Her words, "Alex is the reason I stayed," ignited something in his chest. He remembered what she said at the cafe. "If you think you're indispensable, wake up." Now, she hadn't just woken him, she'd given him a reason to live differently. He stepped forward, voice hoarse with emotion. "Eva!" She turned, startled. "Alex, what are you doing here?" He approached, eyes glassy, heart pounding. "I heard everything," he said, voice unsteady, "and I don't deserve the choice you made." He dropped to one knee under the stage lights, not as a gesture of romance, but of humility, like a man who had finally seen the light. "I'm sorry for what I said, for who I was. You've shown me who I could be, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to become that man." Eva looked at him, her heart wavering. She didn't see a CEO anymore. She saw a man trying to rise from ashes. She stepped forward, placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice gentle but firm. "Stand up, Alex. I don't need apologies. I need you to keep trying, just like you have been." He rose, eyes locked with hers. And in that moment, the spotlight seemed to fade until only the two of them remained, their hearts beating in rhythm. Eva withdrew her hand, but its warmth lingered like a promise left unspoken. "You mentioned your mother," Alex said quietly. "What happened?" Eva shook her head, pain flashing in her eyes. "Not yet, but I will find out. And I know now I won't be alone." The small wooden house on the outskirts of the city, nestled beneath old oak trees, was where Alex Kingston sought refuge from the judging eyes of the world. No longer the owner of a lavish penthouse, but not a place of ruin either, just a modest home with weathered shingles and fogged-up windows. After being ousted from Kingston Enterprises and having his main accounts frozen due to the ongoing investigation, Alex had rented this house using personal funds, determined to live more simply, to confront himself honestly. He didn't forget his failures, how he'd ignored warnings, and let Victor Crane exploit his pride to ruin his name. But he didn't want to stop at regret. He wanted to do something meaningful, like Eva Carter had done with the children at the community center. Outside, winter's first rain tapped steadily on the rooftop, a rhythmic sound like an unspoken song. Alex sat at a wooden table, in front of him a stack of notes plans to support the center, buying new music books, donating another piano. Eva's words in the concert hall, "I choose to stay with those who try," played in his mind like a guiding melody through the dark. He was no longer the arrogant CEO who mocked her at the Rusty Spoon. He was learning to become someone else for her. A knock came at the door, light but firm. Alex opened it, and there stood Eva, her wool coat soaked, brown hair clinging to her face from the rain. She held a small wooden box, her gaze shy but steady. "I came to return the music theory book you left at the center," she said, voice a little shaky from the cold. "And I wanted to talk about what happened in the concert hall." Alex froze, not expecting her to come, especially after she turned down the spotlight for someone like him. "Come in, Miss Carter," he said, holding the door wide. "It's freezing." She hesitated, but the rain grew heavier, so she stepped inside. She stood near the table, the warmth from the fireplace coloring her cheeks with a soft pink. "I won't stay long," she said, setting the wooden box down, "but I wanted to thank you for fixing the piano. Lily really loves it." Alex smiled and pulled out a chair for her. "Don't thank me. I did it for the kids. And for you. You showed me how wrong I was, thinking I was the center of everything." He paused, his gaze sincere. "My arrogance blinded me, and now I'm paying for it. But you made me want to be better." Eva sat, her eyes flickering between skepticism and something softer. She smoothed her damp coat, her voice low. "My mother used to say, no one is the center of the universe, but anyone can be a source of light. That's what she did with her music until—" She stopped, remembering the business card with Leonard Drake's warning. "She died in a car accident, but I never believed it. Something about Leonard Drake doesn't add up, and I'm going to find out." Alex leaned forward, curiosity flickering in his eyes, but he held back. "You don't have to share anything you're not ready to," he said, "but if you need help, I'm here." Eva looked at him, surprised. She hadn't expected the man who once belittled her to speak with such humility. She stood and walked to the window, watching the rain pour down. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "You don't have to care about me." Alex got up, stepping toward her, but keeping a safe distance. "Because you gave me a reason to keep going," he said, voice husky. "You turned down the spotlight for what you believe in. I want to learn how to live like that." Eva turned to face him, her eyes locked with his. A wet strand of hair clung to her forehead, and instinctively Alex reached up, gently brushing it away. His fingers grazed her cheek. Both of them froze, hearts racing in the quiet moment. Eva stepped back, cheeks flushed. I should go," she said, voice trembling slightly. "But thank you for listening." She turned, but Alex called out, "Miss Carter, if I ever thought I was everything, then you were the one who woke me up, and I want to stay if you'll let me." Eva paused at the door, offered him a soft smile, and then stepped back into the rain, leaving Alex standing there, with a flicker of hope in his heart. That night, Eva sat in her apartment, fingers gliding over the piano keys, thinking of the moment Alex brushed her hair aside. She didn't want to admit it, but his sincerity was breaking down her defenses. She pulled out Leonard Drake's business card, resolve sharpening. She had to uncover the truth about her mother. Did Clara Voss and Leonard Drake have something to do with her death? And Alex, could she really trust him? Meanwhile, in the quiet house outside the city, Alex opened a report from his private investigator. "Leonard Drake sponsored Anna Carter's final concert. Rumors suggest she was under pressure related to a major project." Alex stared at the page, thinking of Eva, of her eyes at the window, of her voice trembling with pain. He wanted to help her, not to make up for the past, but because she was becoming the reason he wanted to live differently. The new arts center, renovated from an old warehouse on the city's edge, glowed warmly under the soft light of hundreds of candles placed along wooden ledges. The once bare brick walls were now covered in the scribbled artwork of orphaned children, vibrant suns, pianos, and smiling faces. Thanks to Alex Kingston's support, The center had come back to life. The leaky roof repaired, windows replaced, and the wooden floor polished into a stage for dreams. Tonight was its first charity concert, and Eva Carter would perform a piece she had composed under the moonlight in memory of her mother Anna, and to share healing through music. The audience, local residents, a few small sponsors, and children from the center sat closely packed on wooden chairs, their whispered excitement filling the room. Eva stood at the new piano, a gift quietly donated by Alex, candlelight reflecting across its gleaming black surface like stardust. She wore a deep blue silk dress, her brown hair flowing freely, hands resting gently on the keys. In the front row, Lily, an 8-year-old girl with wild curls, hugged her doll and beamed up at her. Eva smiled back, thinking of her mother who once played for children just like these, teaching them to find joy through music. "Play so they see the light, Eva," her mother once said. But tonight, Eva also thought of Alex, the man who had encouraged her to keep going, the one who said, "Your music heals not just the children, but me too." Backstage, Alex moved quietly, checking string lights, adjusting chairs, making sure everything ran smoothly. Wearing a rolled-up shirt, a light sheen of sweat on his forehead, his eyes glowed with quiet fulfillment. He wasn't seeking the spotlight, he just wanted to be part of this moment. He had spearheaded the center's renovation, from fixing the roof to painting the walls and installing the sound system. But more than that, he had become Eva's emotional anchor, reminding her that her music had the power to heal and urging her to keep sharing it. As he wiped down a chair for a child, he recalled Eva straightening his collar in his countryside home, her expression half cautious, half warm. Tonight, he wanted her to shine not just for the audience, but to see her own worth. As Eva began to play, under the moonlight filled the room, opening with soft, melancholic notes like whispers of the night, then rising into a luminous crescendo, like moonlight breaking through storm clouds. The music told a story of a girl who lost her mother, lost her dream, but found herself again through melody and compassion. The room fell silent. A few wiped away tears, touched by the song's healing spirit. Lily leaned over and whispered to her friend, "Miss Eva makes me want to play piano forever." Eva played with her eyes half closed, as if speaking not just to her mother, but to Alex, the one who gave her the courage to compose and perform. From backstage, Alex listened, heart pounding. Eva's music was healing him, a man once consumed by pride, now finding meaning in the smallest acts of grace. He felt proud not of himself, but of her, of the children, of the center they had built together. A local reporter slipped backstage, recognizing him. "Mr. Kingston, the former CEO?" she asked, pen ready. Alex shook his head and smiled gently. "I'm just a volunteer. Write about Eva and the center. They're the real story." The reporter blinked in surprise, then turned toward the stage, where Eva played her final notes, bold, hopeful, and unforgettable. When the piece ended, the audience rose in thunderous applause. Lily ran onto the stage, threw her arms around Eva, and handed her a drawing, a girl playing piano under a glowing moon. "You're my hero," Lily cried, eyes sparkling. Eva knelt and embraced her, tears glittering in the candlelight. "No, sweetheart," she whispered. "You are mine." She looked out into the crowd and her eyes met Alex's, standing at the edge of the stage, a bundle of electrical cords in his hands, his smile warm and sincere. Her heart stirred. After the performance, Eva found Alex backstage. "You built this place," she said, motioning to the glowing center, "and you made me believe my music matters." Alex shrugged, wiping sweat from his brow. "I only did the small things. You're the one who makes people feel the light." Eva smiled for the first time without doubt. "Thank you, Alex," she said softly, "for believing in me, for wanting me to keep going." He stepped closer, eyes locked on hers. "Your music healed me, Eva," he said, voice low. "I just want you to keep playing, not for me, but for everyone." She looked at him, then gently touched his hand, fingers intertwining like two notes joining into one. They both paused, hearts quickening, but Eva smiled and stepped back. "I'm writing a new piece," she said, "and it's going to be about people who carry the light." That night, Eva returned to her apartment. She opened her mother's journal and read a line. "Music is meant to be shared, Eva." She smiled, thinking of Alex, the center. the concert. She knew she would keep going, not only for her mother, but for the light Alex had helped her discover and spread. And in the cottage beyond the city, Alex stared out the window, thinking of Eva, of her smile with Lily, of the way her fingers had brushed his. A document from the private investigator sat in his hand. Anna Carter's final performance was sponsored by Leonard Drake. Rumors suggest she was pressured over a major project. Alex tightened his grip on the paper. He was going to help Eva find the truth, because she wasn't just his reason to be better. She was his reason to begin again. You're watching Soul Stories, exclusive to our channel. If you're still with us, drop a comment. We read and cherish them all. Subscribe to support more heartfelt, original stories. Thanks for being part of the Soul Stories family. A year had passed, and the Arts Center on the outskirts of the city had become a beacon of light in the slums. The once bare brick walls were now covered in children's drawings, images of guitars, suns, and dreams. The sound of piano music and laughter filled the classrooms, where Eva Carter and Alex Kingston taught orphaned kids how to play music and find light in dark days. In the backyard of the center, under a large oak tree with wooden benches, was where Eva liked to sit each evening, gazing at the moonlight through the leaves, thinking of her mother, Anna, and the journey that brought her here. Tonight, Eva stood beneath the oak tree, wearing a white sweater, her brown hair falling loosely around her shoulders, arms wrapped around a music notebook. She had just finished a new composition, The Melody of Rebirth, written for the children, for her mother, and for herself. A year ago, she had turned down the spotlight to stay at the center with Alex, the man who was once arrogant but had now become her companion. She smiled, thinking of Lily, the little girl who had just played her first chord, and of Alex, who had spent the year building this place not for fame, but for the children's smiles. Alex stepped out from the center, sleeves rolled up, holding a cup of hot tea. He was no longer the CEO of Kingston Enterprises, but he didn't need titles to feel whole. He had used his old connections to investigate the death of Eva's mother, and last week he received the final report from the private investigator. Leonard Drake, a powerful music sponsor, had paid someone to sabotage Anna Carter's car brakes after she refused to join his commercialization project. Alex had turned the evidence over to the police, and now Drake was facing justice. "Hot tea," Alex said, handing her the cup. She took it, warmth seeping into her hands. "Thank you," she said, calling him you intimately in Vietnamese for the first time. "Lily played Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star today. You should have seen how proud she was." Alex smiled, sitting beside her on the bench. "I saw, and I think she got that confidence from you." Eva looked at him, moonlight highlighting the sincerity in his eyes. "A year ago, I never thought I'd be here," she said quietly. "I used to fear music, afraid it would make me miss my mother. But you showed me I could play again, not for the spotlight, but for those who need it." She opened her notebook and pointed to The Melody of Rebirth. "This part is for you, a note that's not perfect, but always trying." Alex laughed, eyes locked on her. "A year ago, I thought I was the center of the universe," he said. "But you woke me up, Eva. You taught me that humility is the name of love." He paused, voice hoarse. "And I want to spend the rest of my life never falling asleep again." Eva looked at him, her heart pounding. She stepped closer, and under the moonlight, rose on her toes and gently kissed him. The kiss was soft, like a perfect note, blending with the breeze in the oak tree. Alex kissed her back, his hand brushing her cheek, and in that moment, they both felt reborn. They pulled away, Eva's cheeks flushed under the moon. "I found the truth about my mom," she said, voice choked. "Thank you for helping me. Leonard Drake confessed everything to the police. My mom, she stood up for what she believed in, and now I can carry that on." Alex took her hand, voice low. "You are her light, Eva, and mine." Piano notes echoed from the center, a student practicing, filling the space with clumsy but hopeful melodies. Eva and Alex sat on the bench, hand in hand, listening. "We'll keep building this center, won't we?" Eva asked. Alex nodded, smiling. "Together, until every child has a piano to play." Golden early summer sunlight spread across the grassy field behind the Arts Center, where wild purple and yellow flowers swayed in the breeze. A simple wooden archway adorned with green vines and white silk framed the wedding of Eva Carter and Alex Kingston. Children from the community center, dressed in colorful handmade outfits, ran around, their laughter blending with the violin notes of a student playing canon in D. Lily. The 8-year-old with frizzy curls held a bouquet of wildflowers and proudly scattered petals along the aisle, her eyes sparkling as Eva appeared. Eva wore a simple white silk gown and her mother Anna's pearl necklace, sunlight making her glow like a painting. She walked down the grass aisle, eyes searching for Alex, who stood beneath the arch in a plain gray suit, no trace of the arrogance he had when he first walked into the Rusty Spoon 2 years ago. Beside him stood Jake Kingston, Alex's younger brother, in a white shirt and a bright smile. A year ago, Jake had left the rundown shelter after completing rehab, thanks to Eva and Alex's support. Now he worked at the center teaching kids how to paint and had become one of Eva's closest friends, the one who encouraged him to dream again. The ceremony was held before the children, Old Lady Mary, and a few local residents. Alex took Eva's hands, his voice deep and steady. "Eva, you taught me that love isn't about standing above, but standing beside each other, sharing the simple things. I promise to spend my life loving you, with a humble heart." Eva smiled, tears shimmering. "Alex, you helped me rediscover a dream I thought I'd lost. I promise to write new melodies with you for the people who need us." They kissed, gentle yet profound, like a perfect musical note in the middle of the children's applause. Lily shouted, "Miss Eva is the prettiest bride!" Jake whistled and laughed, making everyone burst into laughter. After the ceremony, everyone gathered around linen-covered wooden tables, enjoying homemade sweets and fruit drinks. Eva and Alex sat among the children, listening to them talk about the songs they were learning. Jake came over, slung an arm around Alex's shoulder and whispered, "You finally did the right thing, bro. She's the best." He turned to Eva and handed her a painting, a piano under the moonlight, with 2 silhouettes holding hands. "Thank you, Eva, for helping me stand back up," Jake said, voice thick. Eva hugged him, smiling. "We're all family here, Jake." Old Mary, in her faded floral dress, stepped forward and hugged Eva. "Your mother would be proud," she said, eyes gleaming. "You've turned this center into light, and these 2 men," she pointed to Alex and Jake, "have learned how to follow that light." Eva smiled, holding Alex's hand, feeling his warmth. As the sunlight faded, Eva and Alex returned to the backyard of the center, where the old oak cast long shadows. Eva pulled a folded paper from her pocket, a sketch of a new project, a community music program bringing free piano and violin lessons to other slum areas in the city. "I don't want the center to be just this place," she said, voice full of passion. "I want kids everywhere to have music, to dream, like my mom once dreamed." She pointed to her notebook, where a new composition titled "The Melody of Hope" was taking shape, dedicated to the project. Alex looked at her, admiration filling his gaze. "We can do it," he said, taking her hand. "I'll find the sponsors quietly, behind the scenes for the kids." Jake wants to help, too. He's thinking about organizing a student art exhibit to raise funds. Eva smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder as moonlight peeked through the sky. "We don't need to be the center of the universe," she said, "just the center of each other, and of these dreams." They sat beneath the oak, hands intertwined, listening to the violin from the center as a student practiced. Jake stepped out, carrying a cup of tea for Eva, grinning playfully. "Don't let my brother bore you, all right?" Eva laughed, her heart full. She thought of her mother, of the lessons she left behind, and knew she was continuing that legacy with Alex and Jake, a family not of blood, but of love and shared hope. From afar, Old Mary watched them with a gentle smile. The red thread in her hands stopped twisting, as if fate had finished composing its song. "They've written their own melody," she whispered, "and it will echo forever."